This is Shark Chase. It was produced by Hasbro Games in 2014 as part of their Elefun and Friends line of games. At the time, they had the rights to Elefun, Mousetrap, Hungry Hungry Hippos, and Shark Chase here, which they combined to make a series of sort of jungle and animal related games. I actually reviewed the Elefun and Friends edition of Mousetrap, and it was a pretty good time, albeit it was aimed towards a younger audience than your traditional Mousetrap. Now, when I saw this, I immediately thought this reminded me of the 1988 Milton Bradley game Shark Attack, and it actually is that same game, just rebranded as Shark Chase. Now, Shark Attack was created by Eddie Goldfarb, who also created Kerplunk. So a very interesting little connection there. I was really excited to get the opportunity to play this game because I never actually got a chance to play the 1988 Shark Attack, and I've had my eye out for a copy for a little while. So this was a little treat for me that still had a bit of nostalgia to it. Now, first off, when we look at this box, we have this very bright and relatively modern cartoon art, a couple of kids in the front enjoying the game. When we flip it over, we can see some close-ups of some of the game's components, like the little fish pieces and the dice. Now, this is a flip-top box instead of a lift-off top box, so it's all one piece. However, there is ample room to store the quarter-fold board and all of the game's components. However, with this type of box, I always recommend getting a little zip closure bag to keep the small components safe from falling out, as these boxes over time will begin to develop gaps. Now, when we look at the game itself, the game board is a little bit thin, but it has taped edges. Like I said, it's a quarter fold board, and that's important because it does affect the gameplay on this title. There's some little holes drilled in the center of the board where you can fit this peg here that anchors the shark in place. The shark has a little motor with sort of a half wheel, and when you power it on, he chomps his way around the board. Now, players will take control of these little colored fish characters, which will start on their little respective colored places, and they will roll these 2 die, each with 6 sides with different colors on them, and one player will call out what color has been rolled, and players will move their fish along that track. However, if they are unlucky and their color doesn't get rolled frequently enough, well, unfortunately, the shark is going to catch up and eat their fish. The goal, of course, is for players to have the last fish standing at the end of the game. Oh, there we go. We saw him eat the little red guppy there. Now, that looked smooth in this demo, but I'm going to tell you what, that quarter fold board, I actually ended up putting a shim, just a few little post-it notes here. I had a partial stack of post-it notes that just happened to be enough to align the board. As long as this top portion of the board is a little bit higher than the lower portion, the shark can safely make it over. But he has this little plastic guide here that I noticed during playtesting would occasionally catch on the board if it was uneven, or even on players' fish as well. Now, I don't know if that was a legacy issue at the 1988 edition, but a number of times while playing this game, we had some mechanical problems with this shark itself, which is, like, for all intents and purposes, this is pretty sturdily built. We have a little rubber tire on the underside here that's, like I said, kind of triangular shaped, has about a half wheel, and a little sensor to let you know, or to let the shark know that it's been placed on the board. This anchor just lightly snaps into place, and like I said, there's a guide peg where there's a plastic piece you put through the bottom of the board and then a little piece that aligns on top. You place the shark on this. Oh, I'm just at a bad angle. There we go. And you align the shark's teeth with this dotted line here. The other player fish have a starting space behind the shark, so you have plenty of time to roll the dice and move your fish. Now, there are 2 ways to play the game. One person can be the designated dice roller and call out the colors as players race to move their fish. You can't rest your hand on the fish, so you have to reach in and move your fish as quickly as possible. Or you can pass the dice to the left and have everybody race to roll, which I think is the more fun game option. This is a nice, colorful board. It's very pretty. The sculpt for the shark is quite obviously different than the photos I've seen of the 1988 edition. This is much more rounded. He has an aggressive facial expression, but it's quite a bit cartoonier looks a little dopey at certain angles, which I thought was pretty funny. And I'm sure there are people who are going to comment, oh, they changed the name to Shark Chase. There have been quite a few different names for this game. Shark Attack was the most common that I was aware of, the 1988 Milton Bradley edition. But I have seen Shark Chase released in different markets around the same time, as well as tons of other translated ones. I think Shark Chase is appropriate as opposed to Shark Attack, because this actually insinuates the pursuit. This is just a mechanized toy version of that classic dice rolling horse game that we've seen, where you have little horses on pegs on a wooden board and you roll dice to see how far they move. Only now we've added this moving mechanical shark, which, if you know me, I love the toy aspect of a game. So yeah, absolutely. I think it was 100% worth it. Now, before we get too far, we also got to look at the rules. Ooh, almost dropped them there. We got the rules here printed on bond paper. Nice little quick booklet. There's not much to this game, so it's really mostly assembly instructions. It's obviously held up the test of time. I just fold it right in with the quarter fold board to keep it from getting all crumpled in the box. And like I said, ample space here. Overall, I thought this was a lot of fun. However, gameplay depth, this is real simple. I mean, it is all random chance. You're just rolling dice to see who comes out ahead, but it's the novelty of the toy that makes it fun. So it's an excellent game to play with young kids or for family game night if you like the spectacle. I found this to be a nice nostalgic treat because I never got to play the original. So it was nice to at least try what I remember of Shark Attack in the form of Shark Chase. However, the mechanical issues were a huge drawback. I'm curious to compare it to the original to see how sturdy it was by comparison. In particular, I think the original had just a board that folded in half, and I think the half folding board is the biggest selling factor because it was the point of failure for most of the games. Even when I was adding a shim, this little separation here on the board was just enough to cause issue with the shark catching. A couple other times the shark just caught on the little fish, kind of funny, but overall, yeah, fun little game of chance, nice little time waster. Nothing too deep and perfect for young kids and family game night. I would still recommend this game. Just be aware that the modern edition has this little mechanical quirk. I am interested to compare it to the original though, so I'm still going to keep my eye out. We'll get into a deep dive there. Also loved the connection with Kerplunk. Thought that was a neat little piece of history. So thanks again to my couch potatoes, the channel members who make awesome videos like this possible. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you for joining me today. I love reviewing these fun little treats with you. This one, I mean, it's nostalgic for me because I remember the original release, but I guess we're already 10 years past when this one came out. So for some of you, it might still be retro. Ooh, maybe for some of you, it's the first time you heard something that you grew up with referred to as retro and it's only 10 years old. Maybe there was a bit of a dig, huh? I don't know. I'm the bald one, so don't worry. I look older by comparison. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.